the prelims, you will get almost 85 to 90 days, out of which you can very effectively utilize your 80 days, right? Because you take a break after prelims and the day of, in 20 days you get results. So till that time, there is like you lag your speed. So considering that 80 days if you get effectively for preparing for mains, then I divided my time in first 40 days and remaining 40 days. Okay. I'll talk about 80 days and then you can, if you get extra days, that will be a bonus. Okay. So what I did in first 40 days was, again, I divided them in 30 and 10. So 30 days for paper 1. Usually paper 1 of optional is very vast, and I believe this is the case with every optional. So I give 30 days for paper 1 and 10 days for paper 2, and that can extend as per your level of preparation and the notes making of your optional. If it is not ready, you might require more time, right? So what I did in these 30 days was that you usually join some test series for optional. So they begin with sectional tests, right? So while I was reading the paper 1 in first 30 days, I also ensured that I gave sectional tests which were as per the schedule of the test series, right? So what happens is, whatever you read, you revise it and you write it once, and then you get to know what exactly is the weak area in that particular section, right? So in these 30 days, you should read as well as write the sectional tests. Usually the distribution is 4 sectional tests for paper 1 and 2 sectional tests for paper 2, right? This is how my optional was divided. You can divide it according to your convenience. So writing 4 tests in 30 days is quite a manageable task, right? But this can happen only if your notes for optional are ready. They are crisp. Some points may be absent, like you might not have notes for all the points, but at least 80% of your notes should be ready so that you can revise your complete optional in these 30 days. So what more needs to be done here is, when you read your notes, so while you prepare your notes, they'll be quite vast, so that while you read them, you revise the concept also. But that cannot be our revision strategy for the remaining 40 days, right? So what you do while reading your optional during these initial days is that you start preparing crisp notes. From your handwritten notes, you again make a short note or a diary for paper 1. Like for paper 1, I did 150 pages crisp notes, so that when you go to that next part of your next phase of your preparation, you just revise whatever you read. So multiple revisions, I think you must be knowing till now that multiple revision is the key, because you have to remember a lot of stuff. So if you do multiple revisions, only then you will be able to write your paper in time, and whatever you have decided, that will reflect in your paper. So start preparing crisp notes in these 40 days, 30 days only while you are reading. Okay, same goes with paper 2 also. Prepare 100 pages notes for paper 2, 100 or 150, whatever. So if you compress your optional in like 300 pages, like 150 and 150 for paper 2, whatever it can be your distribution. So if this is possible, only then when you get a gap of 5 days between GS and optional during your last or like during your exam, only then you can revise your optional like 3 times, or at least 2 times you should revise. Otherwise, what happens is, okay, I'll talk about this later, but just remember that you have to target to make very crisp notes so that you can do multiple revisions during your preparation, and also in the 5 days gap which you get between GS and optional. Okay, so this should be your target of preparing very crisp notes of optional, right? And I think this is broadly the strategy for optional. If you have any specific questions, we will take in the later part of the session. Okay, so we'll go to GS now, right?
Next 40 days we have to revise the same.
Yes, right. Revision and mock also you will write. So comprehensive tests. There can be 2, 3 as per your convenience, but usually like minimum you should write 2 mocks, like 2 mocks for each paper. So 4 optional tests. Total 10 optional papers you should try to complete in those 80 to 90 days. Okay. So GS we will discuss more comprehensively. Now what to do in GS? So I'll tell you what should be done in those 80 days, and to use them effectively, what should you start from now, so that you can prepare nicely in that 40 days or 80, whatever. So again for GS also I divided my time in the same manner, 40 and 40. So in 40 days, if you have to cover 4 GS, on an average, you'll get 10 days for 1 GS, right? $40 days, 10 days for GS, right? Now, some GS, if you see the syllabus, for example, GS3 is a little vast to cover in 10 days, right? And that also, okay, I forgot to mention this. When I divided my day, so for 6 hours I did optional, and for 4 hours I did GS. And the remaining 2 hours, if you sit regularly for 12 hours, then the remaining 2 hours, from 1 hour you will write something, you also have to practice answer writing, and the other 1 hour will be for current affairs division, right? So, for GS, you will get, initially you will get only 40 hours, right? So now, I'll talk like individually or separately for particular GS, what should be your strategy, right? So now, when you have to cover GS3, I'll start with GS3 because it is very vast. So, for GS3, if you have to cover in 10 days, your notes for every section should be prepared from now on, right? So, what all components are there in GS3? Can anyone tell me? Economy, right? So, first part is economy. Then sorry, science. Okay, but economy is broad economy, like macroeconomic principles. Right? Then you also have agriculture. Agriculture part is also very vast, and also you get a lot of questions on that topic, right? 70, 80 marks agriculture questions directly or indirectly will appear in your paper. If you see, you all have gone through GS papers for 2022, right? So you will see a lot of agriculture questions have been asked, right? So what is your next component? Science. Next is environment. And then is disaster management and internal security. Right. So 6 components you have to prepare for GS3. Now, just imagine if you have not covered all these 6 components now itself, in those 10 days, you will be lost completely. Because if you decide there what to read from where, then you lose your time, and then you have to compromise it on some other GS or on your optional, which should not be the case. You should at least try to balance out your preparation. Every paper is for 250 marks, so you should give equal and significant time to every paper, right? So now, now on what you can do for GS3 is that I will tell you. So for disaster management and internal security, you should prepare your crisp notes. If you see, direct syllabus point questions are getting hit for internal security also. So if you've seen this year's paper, right? There was a question on left-wing extremism, causes of left-wing extremism, and then you also have to write about solutions. So when you prepare your notes now, this is what you will prepare on left-wing extremism, right? Causes, solutions, and way forward, right? The same question is getting hit in the paper. So if you have your notes, like 1-page notes or 2-page notes, then you can directly write that in your answers, right? So syllabus point notes for internal security is There is a lot of material available already. So you should start preparing for that. Okay. So what all topics are there in internal security? Cyber security is there, right? There will be extremism as we spoke about. And there is also terrorism. Terrorism also direct question comes, right? So what I'm trying to say here is the questions are more tilted towards the syllabus points rather than the current events, right? So cyber security, one question is given. It comes in every GS, right? So it is not changing as per the current affairs, but it is the theme-wise questions will always remain for internal security. So it's always better that you prepare them. And when you read GS3 in 10 days, that time you can do internal security in only one day if you have your notes ready, right? So this is, so you have to start putting in efforts from now only so that you can revise it nicely in the preparation phase, right? Same goes for disaster management. Disaster management, last year we have done good notes. Like there are two parts, disaster and disaster management. So you have to prepare 8 to 10 disasters. So this year cloudburst question came. Last time landslides had come. So the portion which disaster will come, that is more related to current affairs, which you will either ways cover in your newspapers or your current affair magazines, right? So prepare 8 to 10 disasters and keep ready. Every disaster will be of one page. And how you will prepare that? A fact related to that disaster, right? Then causes, solutions, and your NDMA guidelines, right? So the pattern of your notes will remain same: causes, solutions, way forward, and then and a specific fact related to that particular disaster, right? So this is easy to prepare, and it is also highly rewarding because a question definitely will come, and you can tackle it within less time because your notes are ready, right? So that you can divide your time in your paper also for other questions, right? So next part is environment. Environment, usually we whatever we study for prelims, that only you have to study for mains also. Plus you to cover your current affairs, right? So current affairs, you majorly we do it from a compilation, monthly compilation, and then in the end, when we are appearing for films, we do a yearly compilation like PT 365 or something like that, right? So that same PT you can use for your mains preparation also, but then those next 3 months after prelims, that also you have to include here, right? Same goes for science and tech, PT mains 365, mains 365, PT 365. All these sources are quite enough for science and environment current affairs, right? But in science also, there are some specific syllabus points you need to prepare. Can anyone tell me what is the syllabus for science and tech? Sorry? Biotechnology. Nanotech, right? So biotech, nanotech, these are the questions that will come directly. So you have to prepare one page of notes for them also. Right? Nanotechnology, the definition, any fact related to it, applications of nanotechnology in various fields, medical field, space field, automobile industry, manufacturing industry, whatever. Right? So prepare your notes for those static points. And this year also one James Webb Telescope was a question. So this is not in the syllabus, but then it was in current affairs, right? So for current affairs, you will use that strategy of using your prelims material, and plus in addition, you will do current affairs for those 3 to 4 months, right? Because they ask for specific features of James Webb, and that is there in your current prelims oriented question. It was right because usually they'll ask for applications in human field or whatever, but they also ask for specific features of James Webb Telescope, so that you also prepare for your prelims. So same material you can use there also, right? Then is agriculture. Now agriculture in itself is very vast because there are topics like MSP, PDS, right? So all these topics you have to prepare your notes. But what extra you need to do here is that while you prepare these notes, you don't have to like you use some standard material like value addition material of Vision IS or something like that, right? But then you also have to ensure that you include a lot of committees, commissions, and recommendations of those committees in your notes, because that is going to be your value addition, right? On agriculture, if I ask any one of you here, anyone can tell me points about agriculture, right? Also about some specific point, if I ask about farm mechanization. So anyone or everyone can be can at least write about it in your answers, but you have to be very specific. So, for example, farm mechanization, Ashok Gavali committee has said that you have to do custom hiring centers for giving machines on rental business for the farmers. So this is a very specific recommendation of a good committee. So you can include that committee in your answers. So while you prepare your notes, make sure that you do not make general points, but points from the recommendations of these committees, right? And your sources can be current affairs also. So from current affairs, you can easily pick out these committees which have said something about the issues in agriculture. Okay. Swaminathan committee, then Ashok Dalwai committee for doubling farmers' income. So all these committees, if you include in your answers, then only you will get that extra point, right? For economy, prelims, whatever we do for prelims, it is not enough for mains. So what I did for this portion was that I had joined the test series. So in test series, when they take sectional papers, they ensure that they put questions on such topics like why inflation in India right now or after COVID, why it was rising in spite of the demand being low. So such questions you can prepare from the test series also. Also, there's a source of Vivek Singh, economy Vivek Singh by Vivek Singh. So he has covered, that book has covered a lot of questions like inclusive growth or budgeting. Such topics have been covered very nicely from that source. Okay, so you can use that source, but then ensure that you write. You pick relevant topics and you prepare your own notes so that you can ultimately complete your GS3 in these 10 days, right? So this has to be a strategy for GS3. Okay. Now I'll talk about GS2. Right? GS2. So what all topics are there in GS2? First portion is about quality. Right? Right. Governance. Governance. Social justice. And right? So I'll talk about IR first. IR you prepare for prelims also, right? So whatever your compilation is there, that but that is not enough, because in IR there will be questions like how this particular organization is important for India, right? So that is not covered in prelims. From prelims perspective, we just like for prelims we prepare only the facts related to suppose SEO, right? But how SEO is going to be beneficial for India, that is a little more vast topic. So what I did for IR was that I joined one test series, so I covered all the questions which they have covered from that test series, right? Plus I also covered another test series only for IR, like. So did you understand what I said? Yes. So for IR, a sectional paper of suppose I have joined say X test series and I prepared all those questions which they have given. Plus I also prepared for the questions which appeared in other test series also. So like that, you broaden your horizon also. They cover all relevant topics, and for IR, it is a trend that whatever is appearing in the current affairs, only that which is very significant, that will appear in your papers, right? So this becomes a good strategy wherein you cover also your current affairs as well as these test series also try to cover topics which are very static, like the role of diaspora in India's growth or role of diaspora in say Atmanirbhar Bharat mission. So like these questions you can prepare from this. So this was my strategy for IR, but you can also like cover mains 365 for this. But what usually happens is when mains 365 comes, only 15 to 20 days are remaining for your exam. So that time it becomes a very difficult task to cover all these bulky magazines. So this can be a good strategy where you can prepare IR from the beginning when you are preparing your GS2 itself, right? So governance and social justice, you have to have your notes, your own notes. Like NGO and SLG is a topic which will alternately appear in your paper. Like if it comes in 2021, it will appear in 2023 again. So like that has been the trend for NGO SLG. So you have to have notes for NGOs and SLGs, right? So NGO, like again, the pattern will be same. A specific fact related to an NGO. What are the challenges? What are the way forward? And anything in current development which is related to NGO. Like there was an amendment for FCRA, right? Mm-hmm. So that also you have to cover in your notes. Okay. So if you prepare these notes very crisply, then it becomes very easy for you to revise them again and again. And in that 90 days, you have less load to prepare such small topics. Okay. Because they take time. But if you invest that time during those 90 days, then it becomes very difficult. You mismanage your time then. Okay, so from now only you have to prepare these two topics. Okay. For polity, now polity questions, if you see, yeah.
And what should be the sources for governance and social justice?
Actually, there is a lot of material on governance and social justice. I'll tell you what I referred. I referred MK others. Quality enhancement program notes. There's also Vision IS value addition material. So any of these sources will be good, but just ensure that whatever you're reading, compress it so that you can understand from your own notes, because just don't read it and keep it like that. Otherwise, after you read it once, then that particular notes is not very useful, because first time when you read it is more for your understanding. And once you've understood those notes, then you just take whatever is needed and that's it. Then you do not use that same source again. Okay. So this can be your source for governance and social justice. Whatever your syllabus point is, even if you put it on Google, there's a lot of material on these two topics, right? Then there is polity. For polity, Lakshmikant we do for prelims. Right, so that you also have to revise once for your mains, because some bodies or questions on bodies has been this year it didn't appear. It appeared for NCBC, but then you have to getting those constitutional and non-constitutional bodies. Those you have to prepare from Lakshmikant, right? So governor or election or president or such topics you can only do it from Lakshmikant. But apart from that, there are some questions which are related to your understanding. So, role of governor, like this legislative powers of governor, that's a question that's asked. So this you also have to so that you can use use as an example in your answers. So for this it was. There are notes of like question answer format notes of Shubhra Ranjan ma'am. So I used them, and they are also very good for understanding purpose, because quality is such a section that we have some only like factual part of it during your right. Who appoints the governor? What is the election? Who participates in the election of the president? Such factual questions we prepare for prelims. Then when you prepare for GS2 for quality section, that cannot be your strategy. You have to have more the role of governor or the emergency procedure, how it has been used in the structure of the country, right? Someone's mic is online, please mute it. Okay. So I used that Plus, you can also rely on whatever test series you're joining. They will cover questions related to understanding of that particular topic, which is more trending, right? So if defection is a question, so you know the law of defection, you know the article, you know the amendment number, but then how defection is misused today, or how what is the relevance of defection today. So such questions you won't be able to tackle only based on Lakshmikant. So for that, you can rely on that source which I just told you, because it has covered nicely the conceptual part or the understanding part of those questions. Okay. So this was my strategy. Plus, here also you have to prepare your notes for constitutional, non-constitutional bodies, like NCBC was asked for this year. So similarly, any bodies which are in news, and also if it is not in use, you still have to prepare those bodies like NHRC, NCBC. So you have to keep your notes ready for such part, right? Also, specifically in GS2, again, writing judgments, Supreme Court judgments for polity part, right? So suppose if a sedition question is asked, then Kedarnath judgment should be reflected in your answers, right? So such issue specific judgments you have to collect. Okay. So also committees and judgments becomes important in GS2, right? So while you prepare your notes, you prepare what are the recommendations. Okay. So in GS2 specifically, you have to stress on judgments and commissions and committees and the recommendations of such committees. Otherwise, it becomes a little general. So this is a practice you have to follow. Also, for 2, 3, and 1, facts become very important. So you also have to maintain a separate fact sheet, which you can start preparing from now only. Fact sheet is very important, because a separate fact sheet you have to prepare. Like you have notes in which you might include some facts, but I would suggest that you make 2 or 3 pages separate fact sheet only, which you will revise like daily or at least 4 to 5 times. Only then those facts get reflected in your answers, because it's a combination, right? When you're writing an answer, suppose if you're writing a question related to education, and somewhere you've written some fact, but that same question is not going to come in your paper. So you have to have all the facts related to education in one line, so that whichever fact you think is appropriate, that you should include in your paper. So prepare a separate fact sheet. Topic wise also you can do it, or just 2 to 3 pages you randomly also write, that is fine, but then you should revise it 4 to 5 times. Okay. What I'm trying to say here is that while you prepare your notes, don't rely on those facts which you write in between. Separately, you make a table or a list of your facts, which you will keep revising 2 to 3 times. Okay. So anything, any questions for GS2? No? We move on to GS1 then. Okay.
अगर आप इससे हम स्टार्ट करते हैं, तो 2 घंटे देता हूँ, हाँ, उसमें मेरे 1 या 2 इम्पोर्टेंट थे, हाँ, लेकिन ऐसे करोगे तो 3-4 घंटे लग जाएंगे, इससे चीज
तो है ना, अभी टाइम है ना,
वैसे ही करना।
हाँ, अभी suppose you prepare for October, November, December, and January also. So if you're comfortable, you can start your prelims from February, but if not, usually people start from January also. So you still have 2 to 3 months, and what you do is don't go very like mechanically. Like you have to prepare for this point or not. Understand the weightage of the points. Like for your IR, you need not prepare right now. You can prepare those notes because it is a like current affairs related, so it will keep evolving. But for governance and social justice, prepare now only. For polity, you can still rely on newspapers and more focus on your understanding part. So like that, the point which is having more weightage, like in GS3, agriculture is static also, and also you have current affairs. So for static portion, prepare your points now only. But economy is more of evolving nature, right? Whatever,
गवर्नेंस वगैरह अभी हुआ नहीं है मेरा हाँ तो उसके नोट्स बनाने में वो पूरा अंडरस्टैंड करना पड़ता है
बराबर
पड़ता है उसमें टाइम लगता है फिर उसके नोट्स वो टाइम लगता है क्योंकि हुआ नहीं
टाइम तो देना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि अगर आप अभी नहीं दोगे तब प्रीलिम्स के बाद तो फिर तो कुछ टाइम है ही नहीं ना, तो अभी तो आप फिर भी एक्सटेंड कर सकते हैं, बट प्रीलिम्स के बाद तो फिर आपको बहुत ही वो डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है, तो अभी टाइम तो देना ही पड़ेगा। मतलब व्हाट यू कैन डू इज प्रिपेयर्ड नोट्स होते हैं किसी के टॉपर्स के, वो भी आप रेफर कर सकते हो, बट वो भी आप डायरेक्टली उस टाइम पे एक्सपेरिमेंट नहीं कर सकते हो कि मैं ये नोट्स पढ़ लिया वो नोट्स पढ़ लूं। आप उस टाइम पे सिर्फ वो ही पढ़ सकते हो जो अभी आपने पढ़ रखा है। तो अभी आप ऐसा भी कर सकते हो कि किसी टॉपर्स के नोट्स रेडीमेड है, अगर वो ले लिए तो वो भी चल सकता है, ऐसे भी स्ट्रैटेजी यूज करते हैं। तो बट टाइम तो फिर है, मतलब टाइम का इशू तो फिर सबको ही रहता है, और वो तो अपना इंडिविजुअली ही आपको ओवरकम करना पड़ेगा, एक्सटेंड करना पड़ेगा थोड़ा, ठीक है। So we'll talk about how you can divide your time before starting your prelims preparation. We can talk about it in the later part of the session. Okay. So GS2 का कुछ स्पेसिफिक है क्या कि कौन सा कहाँ से कवर करना है, या ऐसे कुछ क्वेश्चंस है तो you can ask, right? So we'll go to GS1. अभी तो GS1. I would suggest that after your prelims, you can start your preparation for GS1 there and there only, because you've done geography and history multiple times for prelims also, and that same material you will use for mains also. Okay, so history. Geography also, if you see the questions were quite manageable if you have prepared nicely for prelims also, right? Rocks, they had asked about primary rocks. You prepare about rock system. It is also there in NCRT, right? So geography and history, whatever sources you've prepared, only that you can revise for your mains also. Only the extra you need to cover is world history and post-independence, but post-independence, no question is coming from that segment. So, but for world history, alternate year, they'll try to put at least one question. So, Anudeep, no, not, I'll share the toppers notes with you all after this session. So 50 pages notes for world history are already there. Try to connect it with your syllabus points. And if something is missing, then you can also Google it and write. So, for example, communism or imperialism, such points are there in your syllabus. So, one page of notes for such points you can prepare from Google also. Okay. So, 50 pages notes is enough for a 10 marker or 15 marker question, which might or might not come. So, it is not that much rewarding section, but if indirectly world history, you can use those events in your essay paper also sometimes, or even in your ethics examples. So that way, world history you can utilize in many ways, but you just like already there is time constraint. So for world history, you can use 50 pages notes of a topper or anything which is very crisp, so that you can cover that segment. Okay. Geography, I'll say that geography for we prepare physical NCRT for prelims, right? But that is not enough, because applied geography, like for industries, they ask about rubber industry in this year's mains, right? That also world distribution of rubber industry. Last year they had asked about volcanoes and the distribution of volcanoes in the world, right? And which volcanoes had come in recent times. So current affairs and world geography they will include in your questions, right? So for that, you have to again rely on your notes. What I did was that I used only as notes for geography. They're like 200 pages notes. You do not have to read everything. You just have to pick up what is necessary and analyze what questions are coming from which area they are coming, and only those sections you have to cover. Also, in geography or in paper one, it will happen that environment related questions might also appear here. So you can combine this section with your GS3 environment preparation also. Okay. So while you revise your geography paper, you also revise environment in this one. Okay. Then history and geography mainly you have to rely on whatever you are reading for prelims and a little extra for geography. Also, history, art and culture related questions you have to prepare, which we do from fine arts NCRT. NCRT sources enough source, and if you get time, then there are more sources also. But then fine arts NCRT at least you should cover. Okay. So society is another topic which you have to prepare very nicely. Society challenges are two ways. One is that of preparing your notes, but the questions which come on society are a little more diverse, or they will you won't understand those questions very easily, right? You can go through society questions. So what I did here was that I solved all the previous year questions of society, like 40 pages notes you will prepare for this section. What all you will prepare here? What all topics are there in society? Nationalism, communalism, right? So 1 or 2 pages notes of every such topic, right? 40 pages notes, not more than that. But along with this, you have to also prepare your questions which have appeared for previous year, right? And okay, now we are there. First, you must have heard about Sunya IS, right? So Sunya IS have they have compiled all the previous year questions from 2015 to 2021, I guess. So you can use that. Like many times it happens that you keep on searching what can be a model answer for this particular question of UPSC, and there are many answers, but Sunya is one source where you can get answers for all the previous year questions. Okay, so you will use that source for all your previous year model solutions. Okay, so this is for GS1, and then we go to GS4 then. Okay. So for GS4, again, you have to have 40-50 pages notes ready, so that you can cover those 50-page notes in 3 days. And as I've said that you divide your time as 10 days for one GS. The remaining 7 days you have to write, because there are 2 sections, case studies and like theory questions also. So GS4 is not more about what you read, it's more about articulation, about how you write those answers. So 7 days you can dedicatedly give for writing and practicing GS4 instead of just reading your vast notes. Whatever notes you have prepared till now, just compress them in small parts. So, and what you have to include in these 50 pages is that definitions and examples. So examples can be in 2 ways: administrative examples, like in administration you can put examples of some IAS officer or IPS officer, and some individual level examples and some general examples. Like for example, you use example of Mahatma Gandhi ji, like his struggle, non-violent techniques and whatever. So such diverse examples you can prepare in these 50 pages only. So once you read these 50 pages in 3 days, then 7 days you can divide in writing, because writing GS4 is also very important, and it is little different from the remaining 3 GS, right? So you have to include paragraphs also. Sometimes you have to put your own thoughts. So articulation is more important in GS4. So don't focus more of your time in just reading, but also invest in writing GS. Okay. Also for case studies, there is you have to have a good practice. Only then you can complete 6 case studies in 1.5 hours. So you get on an average 15 minutes for every case study, and it becomes very challenging to cover your every case study in 15 minutes. If you see GS4 paper this year, 2022, it was very lengthy. and it had become really challenging to complete the paper itself. So if you can complete your case studies nicely, and what you have to do here, reading will not help here. You have to decide your pattern of case studies, what you are going to write, what all formats you are going to use, and writing that case study in 15 minutes is a challenge. So practice that more rather than just keep on reading it, right? So this is a strategy which I think I realized it later, but I tried to cover many case studies once I realized that I was not able to complete them. So you do this, you prepare 50 pages notes from your past notes, and then during those 10 days, just focus on writing and articulating ethics or GS4 answers. Okay. So this can be your strategy for GS4. Okay. Is this any GS specific question?
I'm very sure one of the answers got structured that you have made this.
Okay. But you have to tell me a question for that. If you have a paper, okay, you keep that ready. So we'll take it in the next segment. Okay. Now, so from now, did you get an idea from now on what all you need to prepare for GS so that you can effectively utilize your time? So now we talk about another challenge, which is about answer writing and paper completion, right? Many times, like initially, even I had this problem of completing my paper in time, but fortunately, I could. Like not fortunately, I practiced for it and I could finally complete all my papers in the main exam. But then how that process should be, that I'll tell you. Okay. So paper completion. I think this is a challenge, not more about your answer writing or about your speed, but it is more about like if you have content, revision of that content, understanding of question, and structuring. So if you have worked on all these three to 4 points, I think paper completion will not be a challenge for you. So now if I tell you to write 150 words in 7 minutes, and if I give you what all to write, I think everyone can complete that, right? Everyone can match up to the speed of writing 150 words in 7 minutes. But the challenge more is on this part. If you don't understand the question, understand the demand of the question, then you keep thinking what you have to write, right? If you cannot structure or how you have to write the answer, you also start thinking कि मैं इसमें क्या लिखूं क्या नहीं. And once you do figure out this part, but if you've not done revision of your content, then also you try to recall ये point के बाद क्या point आना चाहिए या whatever. So if you work on these 3 to 4 points, I think paper completion will not be a challenge for you. That is what I have realized, because 7 minutes everyone can write an answer for 150 words. I think 5 minutes also are enough when you are writing with that speed or with that intensity in main paper. It happens that you complete some answers also in 5 minutes, like when you are about to finish those 3 hours, you complete some of your answers in 5 minutes also. So, but that is not the challenge. This is more of a challenge. You should work on these points, and then I think paper completion will not become a problem for you also. Okay. So, understanding of question is understanding the demand. Now, if you see GS2 questions, can anyone open GS2 question paper? So there was a question related to education system, and it was quite an open-ended question, and how to make a structure on that question was a Okay, so the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009 remains inadequate in promoting incentive-based system for children's education without generating awareness about the importance of schooling. Analyze. So what they are saying here is without people understanding the importance of schooling, the act remains inadequate to address the challenge of. So now this was the understanding of the question. So if you understand the question, then what can be the structure for this particular question? You'll have to first write what is the need of awareness, right? So in the need of awareness, you can then explain with certain facts that the dropout rate is very high, the retention is not there. Some schools are not conforming with the standards of the RT Act, right? So need, and then how to increase that awareness, solutions to related to that. So if you know that you have to write about need and the solution to increase awareness, need of awareness and solution to increase awareness, then it becomes easy to write that answer in 11 minutes if it is a 50 marker question. But then these points you have to stress on more. From now onwards, how you can do is that, because see, when you prepare for prelims, you have very less, like, you do not dedicate time for answer writing. So that is that 4 to 5 months gap, which comes right when you start for preparing for mains. But if you, from now on, if you have a good command over these points, then I think there also you will not be able to, you won't face this challenge of paper completion. Okay, so work on these points. Take previous year questions, especially GS2, because GS2 questions are a little open-ended. GS3 questions are more divided. They are divided in different parts, so you can easily make structure on for GS3 papers, GS3 questions. But GS2 questions, GS1 society questions, those questions are a little more open-ended, and you have to put in more thought on how that question has been asked and what exactly you need to write in that question. So understanding of question and structuring, this is what you have to focus on from right now, so that you can overcome the challenge of paper completion. Okay. So now also I'm not saying that only these points will help. You also have to practice a lot, so that you also have nothing is new for you when you appear for the exam, right? So what you have to do is, what I did was, after every 10 days that I finished my GS paper, I wrote one comprehensive paper. So while preparing for GS1, I'll write 2 sectional tests, which will be of 250 marks. Then I'll write one comprehensive paper after these 10 days, right? And then I'll move on to next GS. So like this, at least 2 to 3 papers per GS I will cover, right? 2 to 3, I'm talking about comprehensive paper, plus 2, at least 2 sectional papers. So 5 papers per GS. If, see, this is not a number that you should stick by. It can vary as per your time distribution, as per your need and convenience also. But then try to at least write maximum papers, so that you are not new to any papers. Paper completion then doesn't remain as a challenge. Okay, but then you can just focus on how you can improve your presentation, how you can improve your the way you write your answers, how you can include diagrams, maps. That points you can start working on, because once you get that time in control, then you can work on other aspects also, right? So do this, that you will cover at least 2 to 3 comprehensive papers for every GS. So by the end of the process, or before your mains, you at least write 15 to 16 papers for GS, or at least 10 papers for GS and 10 papers for optional. So that is a good number That is minimum actually. People write many more papers and some also, but we have to balance both. We have to revise also, we have to write also. So at least 15 to 16 papers for all the GS, 10 papers for optional. Like that, you need to cover your paper writing. Okay. So yes, also I have to talk about like when I was talking about paper completion, you also have to improve your writing style because many times because of our graduation also we have that habit of writing big sentences, writing in paragraphs, but that is not that you cannot do here because one, the space is limited. You have to cover all dimensions in a limited space, plus the time is not limited, it's very like time is very deficient only. So for that you have to write very crisp points, right? So using maximum keywords in your answers, that you have to do. So keywords will not come like they won't come naturally. You have to work on them. Like if you have to write about write that the sex ratio in India is Q, right? But if you and if you have to write about the reasons, then sun meta preference. If you write that word, that keyword itself is explanatory, right? There is sun meta preference in India. That is why there is Q sex ratio, right? So start preparing such keywords from your newspapers, from toppers answer copies. If you see, please refer toppers answer copy. Like for every GS, you first read toppers answers and only then you start preparing. Because if you adopt this reverse kind of a strategy, wherein you see what you have to write in answer and then prepare your notes, I think that will be more beneficial. Because otherwise we keep on making very big notes, they become bulky at the end and they are not useful to us. So your time is wasted and your entire effort gets wasted. You have to repeat that exercise again. So what you do is refer answers of toppers. You read those copies. They've written very crisp points for every answer. Like one point will be in 2 to 3 words. Why? Because they're using more and more keywords. So this keyword collection, you can start because it's a process. You start writing your keywords. And suppose like we are maintaining a separate fact sheet, maintain a separate keywords sheet, wherein you write such keywords. For GS1, you can maintain a separate keyword sheet also. So and also when you're preparing topic wise, like for example, if you're preparing for left-wing extremism and the causes for it, then also if you're writing social causes, then write in those keywords only, right? Keywords and a fact, that much should be your point. Only then that is also one of the challenges why you can't complete your paper in time, because we write a lot and that is not possible. So you have to write less, and for writing less, you have to practice from now. Practice since your notes making phase only, right? So if you prepare short notes, only then you write short, and then you can complete your paper in time. Okay. So make this a practice where you will get these toppers copy. If you put it on Google, Vision IAS has maintained a good like answers or toppers copies on their website. So you can download those from there and but do this practice, okay? And you also can sometimes see not only the keywords but also the conclusion points they have used. Very innovative conclusions also sometimes people write. So that also you can include in your answers. So make this a habit that you, before you prepare for any GS, read the answers of the toppers. Okay. Yes. While I spoke about how many papers you have to write, you also have to do a simulation for your during those 90 days. So what I mean by simulation is that the pattern in which you are writing your mains, the same pattern should be followed before you go for your main exam, right? So on one day you write essay, the other day GS1 and GS2, and the other day GS3 and GS4. So at least 2 simulations people do. Then because what happens is that by the end of paper 4, you should be that active, because since 2 days you are continuously writing, right? Writing 60 pages every 3 hours. So keeping your mind active till the end of GS4, you have to have that practice of, so you should not basically get tired. So for that, you have to be prepared. Do a simulation at least 10 days prior to mains exam or 15 days prior to mains exam, so that you can decide your strategy, that how you are going to revise for every GS and like that. Okay, so simulation also is something which is very essential. So there are like here also, sir will conduct simulation test for everyone. And if it is not possible for you to give here, at least, and if you are studying in a group, so at least 2 or 3 of you should ensure that you are writing that simulation together. Okay, in an exam kind of an environment, an exam pattern only. Okay. This is kind of a strategy which like 80 to 90% of sincere students are going to follow. But what differentiator or what extra or what different you should do, I'll talk on 2-3 points which you can do, which will add as a value addition for your preparation. So one is, I told you about facts, right? So facts also, everyone will include facts, but then you can include some interesting facts from interesting sources like newspapers, because everyone will see there is also a fact sheet available in the market. People buy that and they can cover all the facts from that fact sheet only. But then you can do that practice from now, wherein while you read your newspaper, at least what you do is that take key facts from those papers or those sections, so that you can, so those facts of yours will be unique than others, right? Second is that you can also use make use of graphs. This was a strategy which was told, like I followed a topper, Vishal Thakkar sir. So he also has a Telegram channel which you can join. Vishal Thakkar AIR 35, AIR 39. Okay. So what he had done is that he used to have graph for every point. In history also he has used graphs. How so suppose if they are asking about participation of women in freedom struggle, right? So how the participation increased after like Gandhiji entered in the scene. So like that he had prepared a graph for women's participation in freedom struggle also. So any point he used to like convert it in a graph or something like that. So because that looks very innovative also, and it is different from others papers also. So you can follow that channel. He has very good innovative graphs and diagrams, so you can use them in your notes directly from there. Okay. Then other thing is diagrams and flow charts and maps. So this is like in GS1 paper. Ensure so like they're asking about rubber industry distribution. So make sure that you draw a map of the world, and then you shade the portions where the rubber industries will be concentrated. So it also improves your presentation. Maybe many of them include them in their answers, but then if you don't include, then it becomes a negative point, right? So use such maps and practice maps in your preparing phase only. Because in any answer you can draw maps. For history also, now for history there was a question on Cholas and Guptas, right? So you can write the regional spread of the Chola kingdom, right? You can write about the capital of Cholas in your map. So even that much is enough, or important cities, and you know those important cities while you prepare for prelims also. So just include them in your map. It will show the examiner that he has a extra information about the kingdom also, and not just on what I asked, or not just what the question demands, right? So drawing maps, including your knowledge in those maps, be it world map or India map of India, you have to do it neatly. Okay. The other thing is diagrams. Again, for landslides, cloud bursts, there are diagrams available on Google also. So while you prepare for any disaster, see for a map, see for a diagram which is there, which you can directly, like NCRT has good diagrams, right? So you can use Google as your source for including diagrams on such points, right? Then also committees and commissions and Supreme Court judgments that have already told for GS2. You can use it in GS3 also, committee recommendations, right? Plus, you also like have to work on your conclusion part, because conclusion, if you write a good conclusion, then in the end of the answer, it gives a feel that the person has understood the question very properly. So for that, you have to ensure that you make your conclusion a little broader and also futuristic. Like if there is a, like the same question which we talk about education, then use National Education Policy 2022 in your conclusion. Like NEP 2020 already envisages to attain this goal of awareness generation, and implementing it in true spirit can be beneficial. Only this conclusion, 2 lines if you write, then the examiner also understands that the candidate has a good understanding about the topic. So try to write such conclusions, make a list of such conclusions. So there was Mandar Kakki sir, so on his channel also, he has compiled conclusions for GS. So you can refer them and you can prepare your own conclusions. And a very easy source for that is newspapers. When you read any particular article, in the end of the paragraph, there are good points. So that directly you can use in your conclusions. Okay. Yes, so this is what I wanted to tell. If you have any specific questions, you can ask. So this was it from my side. If you have any specific questions on how to prepare from now or what you are getting stuck at, then you can ask. Online also, if you have certain questions. So, yeah.
That period process will be very overwhelming, right? So how did you overcome that?
Like after prelims?
Yeah.
Okay, overwhelming, it was on 2 fronts. One was completion of the syllabus, and see, the strategy is an ideal one. So it might get extended. So from 40 days, you might go to 50 days, and it will still happen that some part of the portion is still left to revise. So I think managing your time becomes really overwhelming, especially how to divide it in GS and optional. That also becomes a challenge. What happens on certain days is that you prepare optional for a longer time, then you don't get time for GS. But then 6 hours for GS, so 6 hours for optional and 4 hours for GS. That is how I used to ideally think in mind that this should be my distribution. So I would try to at least 90% achieve that. And on the second front, I think there's that uncertainty for the first time, like whether I'm doing whatever I'm doing is right or no. So unless and until you go there, write the paper and come back, you doubt your process every time, like whether I'm going in the right direction, whether I'm doing whatever I'm doing is right or no. So I think that psychologically also you can overcome by putting in extra efforts all the time. So writing your papers, writing your test series in time, getting it evaluated, I think that keeps you like on the track all time. So that is what I did to overcome such problems. Yeah.
It is difficult to revise spectrum because it is
Yeah.
very large. So how should we develop it?
See, spectrum, if you're reading it for the first time, it will take a lot of time. Second time also, third time it happens that you cannot finish spectrum, and even after finishing, you sometimes feel that that I don't remember anything, whatever I've read. So, but I think after you see your in prelims, it is easy because you the questions and the answers also they are right in front of you. So this is just psychological feeling that spectrum. I have read spectrum, but I don't remember anything. You start remembering when you see the questions. So for prelims, it is easy to overcome that feeling of how to cover spectrum. But then for mains, I think you have to write some notes like 30-40 pages notes. If you can prepare from spectrum now only, then I think that becomes very beneficial, because otherwise that time is so less that if you generally naturally you try to avoid reading that book again, or even looking at it to avoid. So if you prepare 40-50 pages notes from spectrum from your what you can do is see the previous year questions on what area the questions are coming, and from that you can prepare the notes from spectrum only. Okay.
How will you include the essay part?
Yeah. So essay, I didn't like I gave 10 days for GS. I didn't give essay very like specific days only. I did essay almost like every day, because essay is something which like after you cover all the core GS, you have a lot of content to write in essay. What you have to work more on is that articulation of your thoughts and structuring of your essay, because structuring, presentation, and your language skill is something which is going to help you in essay. And whatever examples you are preparing from these sections, especially history related examples are very good to write in your essay. So history examples or whatever you are including in your DS, those examples, I used to include them in essay also. And I also joined a separate test series for essay, wherein I wrote like 6 papers. So every paper 2 essay topics. You can discuss after the session. If you have something to say, you can share it here. Okay. Yeah. So I wrote like 6 papers for essay. So 12 essays I wrote. Plus every paper will have like 8 topics. So 48 topics you prepare at the end of your like preparation in those 30 days. So I think writing will improve, and just don't write it, get it evaluated from someone, and make sure that you evaluate your paper from 2 to 3 different persons, so that you get different perspective, and you can include those inputs, whatever is possible for you. You can include those inputs in your improvement. Okay, so that is how I did for essay. I used to write. Actually, ideally, it should be that after every 15 days, you should write 1 paper of essay. But that was not like how I did it, because I used to write once I finished a GS paper, or once I feel that it's time that I should write at least a paper. So that time I do it. But if you do it in a more structured manner, I think it will be helpful. Like after every 15 days you write, and on Sunday you can give 1 or 1.5 hours to at least include some unique points or a unique perspective. And also do this thing that when you're reading newspaper, if you find some phrase very nicely written, then you can include it in your notes. Prepare a note like 20-30 pages notes for essay, include examples in that. So examples will be from these sources only, GS and ethics specific examples. At the same time, you use certain phrases which are used in newspapers, which you can directly implement in your essay paper. And practice more essays and work more on your articulation and structuring of your essay. Like flow of your essay also becomes very important. So which point to include first, how to transition from that idea to other idea. Practice more on these facts, these points, because at the end, what topic will come? You have to change your content, whatever you read, as or you mold it as per your topic of the essay. So, but if you are more prepared on this point of structuring, articulating a good flow, then I think it becomes easy to write it in 1.5 hours. Because that is also so in essay paper you will generally not get a issue of time, because there's good amount of time you can complete your papers easily, but then you have to work on these factors for essay. Anything else? Yeah, so online there was a question like what was my source for GS4? So I had done GS4 class here in with like Neerav sir had taught us GS4. So whatever notes we had prepared in the lectures itself, from that I prepared my 50 pages notes. Also, I refer to another source of Decode Ethics by Mudit Jain sir. So it is also good to for definitions purpose, not for understanding, because understanding I already had from the lectures itself. So I relied on standard definitions and examples from Mudit sir's notes. Also, whatever test series you are doing, so include examples from that test series also. So before prelims also I had joined a test series for ethics. So whatever examples I collected from that also I included in those 40 to 50 pages notes. Okay. Okay, so sample notes some Anand has asked me to share. So I'll share them with you. I'll share them with sir, and I'll share agriculture notes, and then you can get an idea. I have prepared very crisp notes for agriculture. You can prepare on the same lines. Okay. Anything else? Any more questions? Yeah.
During our present time, we have 3 to 4 months. So now we have to focus on the topics which are not collaborating in the prelims, right? Governance, social justice, and movement.
Right.
So for the static part, so do we have to make notes in the similar way or something different? Like for history, geography, or maybe polity, what kind of notes? Because Lakshmikant is there to cover the topics.
Right.
So in those topics, how to make notes in the starting?
Okay. So a very good way for this can be previous year questions, and then preparing that question from your, like I told for spectrum, go through the questions of like usually more questions will appear from the freedom struggle or the national movement. So more questions are concentrated on that part of the history, modern history. So prepare notes for that. So suppose if Cripps mission was there, then what were the suggestions of the mission? Were they accepted? And what happened in response to Cripps mission? So like this, you have to prepare. So after Cripps mission, then there was Quit India movement. So Quit India movement, how the spread of Quit India movement was. You can make a map for that, and you can note out, point out the important centers of Quit India movement. Then you can include the participation of various stakeholders in the movement. What were the achievements of that movement, right? So like that you have to prepare for history. For polity, polity in itself, like preparing notes of Lakshmikant, I think that is many people do it. I had not done because I used to revise from Lakshmikant only. But you can still, you can refer Mandar Patri sir's notes for quality and use that as a reference to make your own notes. So if you go on his channel, you will find Lakshmikant's notes of like 50 to 70 pages. So that strategy you can use for preparing Lakshmikant's notes. And also for the portions or the sections which will not come in prelims, like governance and social justice, I already told you about the sources. So make sure, plus I will also share my sample notes so that you will get an idea that how much or how you need to prepare. Also, one thing I want to talk about is that current affairs. So I already told you in GS3 and GS2, like for major sections, I studied what we studied for prelims, and then for 3 to 4 months additional I studied, I just like relevant or very larger issues I tried to cover in my preparation for those 3 months, which you do not like, you don't rigorously do current affairs in that time, right? So I try to, what usually people do is they make a list of like 50 probable topics, 50 to 100 probable topics. So you can start maintaining this from now. Like while you are reading your newspapers or current affair magazines, read previous year questions. You will realize that an event or a current affair which is happening on a very or which is affecting a larger section of the people, or it is more significant, or it is very new, then on such topics the questions will come. So start maintaining this list of 50 to 100 topics for current affairs. And what we did was that like we used Evernote. You can do this as a group activity also. So we prepared for every topic, we prepared a note on Evernote, like for 200 to 250 words notes we used to prepare on every topic. And you can, in Evernote, you can easily keep on adding if anything new related to that topic comes. So do this exercise from now only. What do you think can be a probable? Like now James Webb Telescope had come. So if you already had that topic prepared, then those people must have benefited, because very specific question it was, and you had to include very specific details about it. So this is one of the strategies which many people use. Like prepare topic list and prepare notes on those topics, and plus whatever test series you join, that test series ensures that it will cover major current affairs. At the same time, for certain sections like science and technology, international relations, I used another test series also, those sectional papers, so that I could cover many current topics. So this was my strategy. I did not rely more on the compilation which came 15 to 20 days earlier. I relied more here. So this is how I prepared. And this time also, if you see, the questions are more based on themes rather than specific current affairs, right? So theme-based notes are more rewarding, more helpful. So first prepare them. Plus, you can, for current, you can do this. Okay. Probable topic list, and then you can make notes. Okay. Anything else? Any questions? No? Yes, so no questions. So I think what is now more important is that you prepare maximum for your mains, at least for these remaining 3 months. Like work for 18 hours a day, but prepare nicely for mains. Because if you are prepared well for mains, you get a different level of confidence while you are preparing for prelims also, right? So if you say start, if this is going to be your first attempt at prelims, then it's good that you start from January or whatever strategy suits you. But then ensure that you have good notes on your GS and optional. If not all 100%, at least ensure that 70% of your notes are ready now, so that after your prelims you are not lost, like what to do, from where to start. You already know what you've done, you know what needs to be done more, so you can prioritize your preparation fast, right? So prepare for mains from now. Only then you get good confidence while appearing for prelims also, that okay, I'm prepared nicely for mains. I just have to overcome this hurdle of prelims so that you can perform well in mains. Okay. So start preparing, and if any specific doubt, if you have even after the session, then you can ask sir. Maybe we can solve those queries there. Okay. So we can end this session now. Yeah. Okay.
Specific website from where we can get handwritten papers of ours as well as their notes. The compilation of all.
You want them at one place? No, I don't think so. But see, for copy, I already told you that Vision IS has maintained a good, like they have a good repository of all the toppers of 2021 or for every year. So no copies you will get there, and also as I told you about topic wise, if you want, then I think Telegram becomes a good source. So Telegram channel of that particular topper, it will have notes, but then you should not get lost in collecting such notes. But I've already told you about section wise strategy, right? So that should be your strategy, and just for reference, you can use Mandar Patki sir's channel. He has notes of all the particular sections. Then there's also on insights also. There are notes of a topper. I'll share that name with you after this session. I'm not able to recall that name right now. But even that has a good, like in section wise, he has prepared good notes for every section, like the social justice, governance. Those notes also you can refer. I'll give that name to you after this session. Okay. But at one place, I don't think there is something like that. Okay.
For that GS4 structure that you have answered.
Yeah.
There was a question that had given a sentence by Delilah. So those are like proverbs, right?
Right.
On the spot, how do you?
Yeah. So can you just read out that?
And so here's for period for specific case, not the example very there are different procedures.
Is the answer may I try to. So his question is how to include the examples, whatever you collect, how to include them in your answers, right? So yeah, what was the question?
Judges success by what you had to give up in order to get it.
Please repeat it.
Judges success.
Yeah. So the question is, judge your success by what you had to give up in order to get it. So code-based questions are very common in ethics. Usually they used to appear in the end part of your theory section, but now in middle also they put, or anywhere they try to put these questions. So at least 3 code questions will come. So code questions have to be tackled in a little different manner than other theory questions. But so if you see GS4 questions of this year, they were quite different from how the questions used to be earlier, right? So they will ask you what are the public service values which an administrator must have. So it is a easy question, right, to answer your question. So now, suppose if you are writing about, there was a question last year, not this year. Last year there was a question that give 5 values a public servant must have in himself, right? So now if you write about integrity, so 5 values according to me are, so first you write about integrity. So integrity, you will write the definition. What is integrity? The act of what you think, say, and do should be in consonants, if that is your definition. And then, so suppose if you write first value as integrity, write the definition here, and then example. In the example, you can put a box. So there's a topper, Surbi Goyal ma'am. You can refer her ethics paper. Because she has very good presentation for ethics. So then when you write about integrity, then now see the question is about public servant. So you have to write about the public servant only. Don't write about Gandhiji here, right? Write about an administrator. So that can be a question, that can be your own unique example, right? So you can use example of which administrator is here. TN section. Yeah. So now see now TN section is something which everyone says. So try to prepare your own examples like this, right? So in this manner you can write. But now these questions are easy to structure, right? They have asked you about 5 values. You just have to write 5 values, example for every value. And then you can write here that just don't write TN session and his name. No, that's not it. What you have to write is TN session conducted as an election commissioner of India. He conducted free and fair elections with integrity. So this is how your statement should be. Okay. Just don't write the name because what you are referring to, it becomes difficult. Okay. So write it in a complete sentence that what you're trying to say. Whatever is in your mind, you should write here. What I used to do is I just used to write names first, but then when you read your own paper, then you don't understand what exactly is the meaning. But you can't just write the names. So write in whole sentences. Okay. So for this quote-based question now, quote-based questions, I didn't write it in points. I wrote it in paragraphs. So that strategy you can use because the question is what that particular quote means to you. Yeah, this is how they will ask. So they are now saying that judge your success by what you had to give up in order to get it, right? So now I'll start by writing what I understand about this question. So I'll write Dalai Lama in the above quote has tried to say that success is not just what you have achieved right now, but it is also about the process which you undergone to achieve that particular success, right? So this is one interpretation. Now try to give diverse interpretations to that quote itself, right? So from students' perspective, what you have to give up is that you have to give up, you have to sacrifice your fun time, and you have to keep studying for more hours to get success in your exam, right? So I also write it from administrative perspective, like if you what I had to give up that I wrote that as an administrator or in professional endeavors, your success should not just be what you have achieved now, but it should also be achieved with values, proper values, and there should be no compromise on your ethics. So then I wrote about the means and ends philosophy of deontology, or Kant's philosophy of means and end also tries to say that your every mean should be an end in itself, and that is how your success should also be. So if you have good, if you've reached on a good position, but that should not be with a wrong means. That is how I wrote. So in quote-based questions, first is that you try to write what first comes to your mind about that particular quote, and say that this is what the author or the writer of the quote has tried to explain here, and then give diverse interpretations to that quote. So from students' perspective, success can be from a student's perspective. It can be from professional front also. So like this, you give multiple dimensions to your quotes. So it will show that you have like interpreted it in like varied manner. Okay. So suppose now we'll take another quote. If a country is to be corruption free and become a nation of beautiful minds, I strongly feel there are 3 key societal members who can make a difference. They are the father, mother, and teacher. This was a quote by Abdul Kalam sir. So you can again start with the same strategy that in this above quote. Mr. Abdul Kalam has tried to explain the key importance of socialization of children in achieving a good future. So he has stressed on like parents and the teacher, who becomes important to socialize the child. And then you can explain how teachers are important, how parents are important. Then also sometimes you can give a current relevance to that topic also. So write in paragraphs. Not necessarily that every paragraph should follow the above paragraph. Try to diversely interpret it, but just ensure that you also include a current relevance of that particular code. So here, corruption is something which is a very widespread problem. So you can also use statements from ARC2, right? ARC2 ethics and governance. That is a report you should read. So then you can see what even ARC2 has said that corruption has become a underbelly of the political system. And so, since corruption remains such a big challenge, it should be tackled not only from external means like acts and bodies and do's and don'ts, but it should be an ethical, you should fight it with an ethical response. So this is how you have to explain whatever is written there. Okay, so this is why articulation in ethics becomes important, because again, if you are asked to write an essay on this, you can write easily, but you have to write it in 2 pages only. So don't focus more on reading, but focus more on writing, at least for GS to 4. Okay, for ethics. Many of these questions in this year were like, you cannot divide them in point format. So I personally wrote many of them in paragraph format only. So this is how I used paragraphs. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. So which 2 essays I wrote in exam. So in section A, I wrote the 4th point. A ship in the harbor. It is safe in the harbor, but it is not meant for that. And in second topic, second section, I wrote the first essay, which was. You should prepare the proof. Right. So probably you get an idea of that. So what I did was for 3 hours, you have to 1.5 hour, 1.5 hour. That is how everyone divides their time. So for 15 minutes to 15 to 20 minutes, I did structuring of that essay. And make sure that you do good structuring, because again, essay writing is not a challenge. If you have good structure prepared, then easily you can write fast. So time is not a problem if you have a good structure prepared in your mind. So ensure that you give 15 to 20 minutes for structuring, right? And then write it in the remaining time. Even if your structuring time sometimes might get extended, because sometimes the topics are not that easy to interpret. So that is fine. But then if you have good structure, then you can write your essay fast. So structuring again, what I used to do is I divided my essay in different dimensions, like social dimension for that topic, political dimension. So for the second essay, you should not prepare your roof. You should prepare the roof when there is sunshine, right? So for that I used multiple dimensions, like how in social dimensions it is important, how in political dimensions it is important, in economic dimensions, like. So that is how I used to do structuring. You take your essay, divide it in different dimensions, and then write one dimension after the other. But also ensure that you do not use the same pattern for both of your essays. Otherwise, it becomes a little monotonous. So in the first topic, because it is now happening that both of the essays are coming on philosophical lines only. So if you use the same structure for both essays, then it becomes a little monotonous also. So even to write, it becomes very yeah. So what you have to do is one essay you can divide on the dimensions of individual level, societal level, national level, international level. This is how you can divide one of your essay, and the other essay you can divide in social, political, economic, environmental. This is how you can do it. Okay, so yeah.
एक का जो मुद्दे अगर कुछ किया है हाँ और अगर हमारे क्लास में कुछ टॉपिक बाकी ना सब वो आएंगे हाँ अगर पढ़ते हैं ना तो इकोनॉमिक्स नहीं मिलेगा हाँ तो उसमें वो टाइम लगा था तो दैट पेंडिंग में था तो बाद में फिर लोग जाके करेंगे ना बराबर है तो उसमें कुछ
तो अभी आप अगर आप मंथली मैगजीन्स रेफर करते होंगे राइट, मेंस के पर्सपेक्टिव से, तो मतलब पहले तो अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द इशू है, और आपको अगर इशू अंडरस्टैंड हुआ रहेगा तो आपको फास्ट हो जाता है रीड करने को। तो कोई अगर ऐसी अभी कुछ टॉपिक्स थोड़े इजी होते हैं, मतलब मैरिज एज ऑफ वुमेन शुड इट बी इंक्रीज और नॉट, दिस इज इजी टू अंडरस्टैंड, तो ये फास्ट हो सकता है आपका। बट इकोनॉमी का जैसे आपने बोला, इकोनॉमी का कभी कभी थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट समझ जाता है। हाँ, तो साइंस एंड टेक के लिए तो आप एक कर सकते हो कि आप वो टेक्नोलॉजी समझ के ले सकते हो गूगल यूट्यूब से। यूट्यूब पे 7-10 मिनट्स के वीडियोस होते हैं, तो आप देख के आपको आइडिया आ जाएगा कि वो टेक्नोलॉजी है क्या। कि अगर लाइक नॉन फंजिबल टोकन्स बहुत ही न्यूज में था, तो उसके ऊपर ये आएगा। तो अगर आपको पता ही नहीं है वो क्या है, तो उन्होंने एडवांटेजेस क्या लिखे, डिसएडवांटेजेस क्या लिखे, वो समझ में नहीं आता है। तो आप क्या करो, यूट्यूब पे वो टेक्नोलॉजी को देख लो एक बार कि क्या होता है। एंड यूट्यूब पे तो एम्पल ऑफ वीडियोस अवेलेबल होते हैं वो सेम टेक्नोलॉजी एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए। तो अगर वो देख के आप वो करते हो तो वो इजी हो जाता है। आप फास्ट रीड करो, ऐसा नहीं किसी एक ही न्यूज पे आप बहुत ज्यादा देर अटक गए, बिकॉज इट इज यू हैव टू बी वेरी क्विक। अगर फर्स्ट इसमें कुछ नहीं भी समझ में आता है तो ठीक है, क्योंकि हम एक तो रिवीजन करते हैं, मल्टीपल रिविजन करते हैं उसका। तो और टू वेज है अभी। नाउ व्हेन यू आर रीडिंग योर करंट अफेयर्स मैगजीन्स, यू फर्स्ट हैव टू डू इट फ्रॉम चिल्ड्रंस पर्सपेक्टिव एंड द अदर इज फ्रॉम मेंस पर्सपेक्टिव आल्सो। सो मेंस का तो मैंने आपको बोला है कि आप वो वापस वो पूरा मैगजीन पढ़ोगे, ऐसा पॉसिबल तो होगा ही नहीं। तो उसमें से जो रेलेवेंट टॉपिक्स आपको लगते हैं सिलेबस पॉइंट वाइज, वो आप वहां से either you can remove those pages and stick it in your main notes, और आप ऐसा कर सकते हो कि जो भी है वहां का आप लिख लो अपने नोट्स। राइटिंग इज द बेस्ट मेथड, बट देन ऑल्सो उसमें टाइम जाता है, तो कभी कभी ये भी स्ट्रेटेजी वर्क करता है कि वहां का पेजेस आप अपने नोट्स में ले लो डायरेक्टली। तो इशू ही बहुत ही प्रोबेबल होता है, उसमें सभी इंपॉर्टेंट लगता है कोई टॉपिक्स में हमको, तो उसमें से पिक एंड चूज करने के लिए भी डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है। तो वो सेम पूरा नोट्स आपके मेन नोट्स में चिपका लो। आप ऐसा करें। नहीं, अभी देखो आप अभी ये आपका फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट होगा तो थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम हो जाता है। पर क्या होता है कि मैगजीन में भी है ना 80% ऑफ द कंटेंट जो है वो कभी कभी रिपीट ही करता है, अनलेस वो कम्प्लीटली न्यू न्यूज है। तो ऐसा तो होता नहीं कि एवरी मैगजीन में 80 to 90 पेजेस के नए ही न्यूज रहते हैं, न्यूज रिपीटेड न्यूज रहते हैं, तो वो सेम ही टॉपिक कंटिन्यू हुआ रहता है। तो आप एक तो ऐसे कर सकते हो कि गूगल से ही डायरेक्टली वो मटेरियल ले सकते हो जो आपको लग रहा है कि वो टॉपिक है। क्योंकि ऐसा तो मेरा रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग हो नहीं सकता है कि मुझे अगर ये टॉपिक प्रिपेयर करना है तो पहले मैं देखूंगी वो कौन से मंथ में आया है, फिर वो मंथ का मैगजीन लेके आए, ऐसा होता नहीं है। तो जब आप ऐसे इसके लिए नोट्स मेकिंग के लिए यू कैन रिलाई ऑन योर ये गूगल ऑल्सो। तो उसमें भी काफी, क्योंकि बहुत मतलब फोरम आए से अपना दृष्टि आए से, तो उसका भी अच्छा नोट्स उनका टॉपिक वाइज प्रिपेयर्ड रहता है, तो वो भी आप डायरेक्टली यूज कर सकते हो। ऐसा नहीं है कि वो मैगजीन से ही यूज करना चाहिए। मैगजीन का अभी आपको क्या मेन होना चाहिए कि वो इशू आपको समझ में आ रहा है या नहीं, वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए आप मैगजीन यूज करो। वो सेम मैगजीन आप अपने पेपर्स के लिए ही यूज करोगे ऐसा नहीं होगा। और अगर वो करना है तो फिर आपको उसके क्रिस्प नोट्स बनाने पड़ेंगे। एवरी मैगजीन का आपको 50 पेजेस में अगर नोट्स आप बना लेते हो तो फिर अच्छी बात है। और वो भी दो पर्सपेक्टिव है, एक तो मेंस है और दूसरा प्रीलिम्स। प्रीलिम्स के लिए आप उसमें से फैक्ट्स निकालो और मेंस के लिए आप उसमें से पॉइंट्स निकालो, कमीशंस निकालो, या एडवांटेज, डिसएडवांटेज, लिमिट्स, लिमिटेशंस क्या है, चैलेंजेस क्या है, वे फॉरवर्ड क्या है। तो वैसे आप नोट्स उसके लिए बना सकते हो। और अगर कोई टॉपिक नहीं समझ में आता है तो डिस्कस करो, यूट्यूब पे देखिए उसको और फिर वापस पढ़िए, तो इट बिकम्स इजी। ठीक है, एनी मोर क्वेश्चंस? So, Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth were very open-ended. How to make notes and know the expanse of such topics to prepare any sublisting of such broad topics. How to revise current affair magazine for free. 12 magazines content becomes heavy for effective revision. Okay. Yes, so मैंने आपको मतलब इकोनॉमी का GS3 का जो शुरुआत के पॉइंट्स है, मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स के प्रिंसिपल्स, इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ, बजटिंग, ये थोड़े ब्रॉड टॉपिक्स है। तो इसमें से कहाँ कितना प्रिपेयर करना चाहिए वो समझ में आता नहीं है। तो इसके लिए एक सोर्स है कि ये जो टेस्ट सीरीज जो क्वेश्चंस कवर करते हैं, दे इंश्योर कि वो एक टॉपिक पे एक क्वेश्चन तो भी डाले कि इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ के इंडिया में क्या चैलेंजेस है, इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ के सॉल्यूशंस क्या क्या हो सकते हैं, राइट? ऐसा क्वेश्चन तो आता ही है। तो इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ आप डायरेक्टली वो टेस्ट सीरीज के क्वेश्चन से भी प्रिपेयर कर सकते हो। क्या हम क्या प्रिपेयर करते हैं नोट्स में, व्हाट ऑल वी प्रिपेयर इन नोट्स, चैलेंजेस, सॉल्यूशंस और फैक्ट्स। तो वो क्वेश्चन फॉर्मेट में भी अगर आप प्रिपेयर करते हो तो हो जाता है, बराबर है। दूसरा मैंने आपको बोला कि विवेक सिंह सर का है मेंस का GS3 का, तो उसमें ये ब्रॉड एंडेड जो क्वेश्चंस है वो अच्छे से उन्होंने कवर किए हैं अलोंग विद प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस। बोला है ना मैंने आपको, तो GS3 में ये जो टॉपिक्स है उनके लिए विवेक सिंह मेंस, उनका चैनल है टेलीग्राम पे, विवेक सिंह सर का। तो उन्होंने मेंस के अलग से ये बनाए हुए हैं GS3 के लिए, तो उसमें ये टॉपिक्स अच्छे से कवर्ड है। बजटिंग क्या है, बजटिंग में भी जेंडर बेस्ड बजटिंग क्या है, जीरो बेस्ड बजटिंग क्या है, ये सारे टॉपिक्स उन्होंने उसमें कवर किए, तो आप उतना भी करके वो भी इनफ है। ठीक है। और हाँ, करंट अफेयर मैगजीन्स का जैसे अभी सबको वही प्रॉब्लम होती है कि वो बहुत बल्कि है और वो वापस रीड करने के लिए थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है। तो आप हाईलाइट करना या ऐसे कुछ स्ट्रेटेजीज यूज करिए जो आपको नेक्स्ट टाइम वो रीड करने के लिए कम टाइम लगे, वो एक किया करिए। मतलब व्हाट यू कैन डू इज, अभी देखो प्रीलिम्स के लिए जब आप मंथली मैगजीन रिवाइज करते हो तो वो इजी है थोड़ा, क्योंकि आपको सिर्फ उसमें फैक्ट्स ही रिवाइज करने हैं। सपोज अगर जेम्स वेब टेलीस्कोप है तो उसके एप्लीकेशंस क्या क्या हो सकते हैं, ये अगर प्रीलिम्स के ऑप्शंस में आता है तो यू कैन इजीली कम टू नो कि कौन सा एप्लीकेशन राइट है कौन सा नहीं है, इतना आप गेस वर्क कर सकते हो। बट जेम्स वेब टेलीस्कोप के मिरर का डायमीटर कितना है, दैट इज अ फैक्चुअल क्वेश्चन, तो वैसे फैक्ट्स आप अंडरलाइन करके रखिए। मेंस के लिए आप दूसरा पेन यूज करिए, प्रीलिम्स के लिए दूसरा पेन यूज करिए अंडरलाइन करने के लिए, या ऐसे कुछ स्ट्रैटेजीज यूज करिए so that it becomes easy for you to read it for the next time। 12 मैगजीन्स तो हो जाते हैं, मतलब 10-15 डेज, क्योंकि प्रीलिम्स के टाइम पे भी हम लोग ऐसा करते हैं ना कि स्टैटिक के लिए 6 to 7 hours we give and for current affairs we give 2-3 hours and one hour at least 1.5 hour for CSAT every day। सो वो बैलेंस करने के लिए आपको डेली 2 to 3 hours मिलते हैं। तो 2 to 3 hours में अगर एक मैगजीन अगर आपको कवर करना है मंथली, तो ऐसे आपके 10 days जाते हैं एक मैगजीन कवर करने के लिए 2 to 3 days में। और लास्ट के 1-2 days आप सिर्फ उसमें से क्या क्या इंपॉर्टेंट है वो देखने के लिए उतना सिर्फ हाईलाइट करके रखिए, या तो फिर लिख कर रखिए कि जितना है प्रीलिम्स के लिए। बट बेस्ट स्ट्रैटेजी ऐसा ही है कि आप वहीं से वापस रिवाइज करें, बिकॉज ऐसा वी डोंट रियलाइज कि इसमें से कितना इम्पोर्टेंट है और कितना नहीं है। तो अच्छा तो वही है कि आप उसी वहां पर ही जाकर वो सब वापस रिवाइज करें, बट वो कम टाइम में करने के लिए आप उसको हाईलाइट कर रखिए कि नेक्स्ट टाइम में सिर्फ इतना ही इसमें से रीड करूंगी। ऐसा स्ट्रैटेजी आप यूज कर सकते हैं। ठीक है। ठीक है, एनीथिंग एल्स? Any more questions? So should we end the session here? Okay. कुछ questions है? Optional का अभी optional का आप मतलब क्या आपको strategy strategy क्या होना चाहिए ना? तो अभी तो ऐसा है कि एंथ्रोपोलॉजी हो या कोई भी आपका ऑप्शन अभी है, तो अभी आपका मेन फोकस होना चाहिए कि आप ने वो सारा रीड करके अंडरस्टैंड करके रखना चाहिए फर्स्ट, और दूसरा ये है कि उसके आपके नोट्स रेडी होने चाहिए, क्योंकि नाउ व्हाट वी डू फॉर अंडरस्टैंडिंग पर्पस वी विल कवर वन टॉपिक फ्रॉम 2 to 3 सोल्यूशंस, तो उतना वापस करने के लिए ये नहीं है, तो उसमें से जो भी इम्पोर्टेंट है वो आप लिख कर रखिए। ऐसा हो सकता है कि वो नोट्स एकदम बेस्ट नहीं है कि जो आप डायरेक्टली आंसर्स में लिख कर आओ, बट एटलीस्ट आप जो भी पढ़ रहे हो वो एक जगह पर लाकर रखिए, सो दैट नेक्स्ट टाइम व्हेन यू रीड इट विल नॉट कंज्यूम मच ऑफ योर टाइम। सो अभी पेपर 1 और 2 दोनों भी आप मतलब 1-2 बार रीड करके और अंडरस्टैंड करके कंप्लीट करना चाहिए प्रीलिम्स का प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट करने के पहले। तो क्योंकि प्रीलिम्स में मतलब there are people who keep preparing their option while they are preparing prelims also, but time उतना नहीं मिल पाता है कभी कभी, तो individually refer your optional after prelims। तो उसके लिए तभी जब आप ऑप्शनल करोगे तब आपके पास कम से कम मटेरियल होना चाहिए पढ़ने के लिए, तो अभी जो भी आप पढ़ रहे हो ना वो सब साथ में लाकर रखो, if not writing, at least try to like for a topic bring all your sources एक जगह पे, मतलब अगर सपोज एक टॉपिक है, किसी टॉपिक पे आपको पर 50 पेजेस हो गए, तो एटलीस्ट वो 50 पेजेस साथ में चाहिए, सो दैट नेक्स्ट टाइम व्हेन यू रीड वो 50 में से कितना इंपॉर्टेंट है वो आप लेके नेक्स्ट टॉपिक पे जा सकते हो। तो अभी आपका ऑप्शनल के लिए फोकस होना चाहिए कि मैक्सिमम आप रीड और अंडरस्टैंडिंग का पोर्शन खत्म करके रखिए, सो दैट कोई भी टॉपिक आपके लिए नया नहीं होगा उस टाइम पे, तो अभी उतना आप फोकस करो। और notes making भी at least 70% of the portion if it is ready in notes, तो 30% कवर करने के लिए है वो टाइम इनफ, मतलब स्पीड भी अलग रहता है थोड़ा, एग्जाम पास आती है तो you tend to speed up, तो तब वो हो जाता है, बट एटलीस्ट 60% बेस आपका अगर रेडी है विद नोट्स तो थोड़ा सा इजी जाएगा फिर आपको, तो अभी आप उस पर फोकस करिए। 3 months है एंड 3 months में भी आप काफी हद तक आपका ऑप्शनल कवर कर सकते हैं, बस फास्ट करिए और टारगेट रखिए कि इतना मुझे प्रीलिम्स के पहले कंप्लीट करना ही है। कि आप अपने सब्जेक्ट के जो टीचर्स हैं उनसे भी डिस्कस करके उनसे बात कर सकते हो कि कौन सा टॉपिक मेंस के पहले प्रीलिम्स के पहले ही प्रिपेयर होना चाहिए, कोई टॉपिक्स इजी होते हैं, अगर उसके लिए टाइम नहीं मिलता है तो अलग बात है, बट एटलीस्ट देयर आर सम पोर्शंस जैसे कि अभी एंथ्रोपोलॉजी उसमें थ्योरी सेक्शन है तो वो काफी बल्कि है, तो वो आपका रेडी होना चाहिए अभी, तो आप उस टाइम पे उसमें कम टाइम देना पड़ेगा। या PSIR है तो आपकी थिंकर्स है या जो भी ऐसा रहेगा, तो वो बड़ा जो सेक्शन है ना वो आप उसको स्मॉल करके कॉम्प्लेक्स करके उसके नोट्स प्रिपेयर करना, ये आपका पहला टारगेट हो सकता है अभी। एनीथिंग एल्स? No questions? So should we end the session then? Okay, so thank you. Thanks, bye.
Hello.